What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another episode of Lions Latest as we go through the latest Detroit Lions news. And we have an action-packed day today for Lions news, as we have some takeaways from Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn press conferences. Plus, we have some injury updates and some notes from today's practice. That was apparently hot. I know it was hot because it's hot in here. So let's get it started.
Way up, we're going to bite a kneecap off, and we're going to stand up, and then it's going to take 2 more shots to knock us down. And on the way up, we're going to take your other kneecap, and we're going to get up, and then it's going to take 3 shots to get us down. And when we do, we're going to take another hunk out of you. Before long, we're going to be the last one standing.
Welcome, everybody, to another video. Glad you guys are here. And yes, we are back with some Lions news. This is exciting. You know it's a good day when there's another Lions latest episode. So I'm excited for this. Now, I have been pretty much all day today watching that Lions versus Steelers game over and over and over. So there will be some more videos coming out breaking that down. I don't know if we'll get one today. We'll see, because I'm not sure where I want to go with it. But I do have a lot of notes. Like, all day I have been watching that game. So we'll get to that for sure. But I do want to throw out this Lions latest episode because there is some news that I want to share with you guys. Plus, we have some pretty cool takeaways from some of our coaches and players as well. But I think we should start off with the injury side first. All right, let's start there. So at today's practice, 2 players did not participate in today's practice. That included Tyrell Williams and Jeff Okudah. But we should not be too concerned about this because it doesn't seem to be any kind of like serious injury or anything like that. It almost seems like just rest for these 2 players. Actually, Okudah said it himself. It was just, a workload thing. They just wanted to give some rest. He was in and out. He didn't really participate in drills. That meant Iffy was going to get some first-team reps, and apparently he didn't really flash in practice, but it was good for him to get those reps. But it just seems kind of like a workload day for some of those guys. And there's a shot that we don't see. Well, there's actually probably a good chance that we don't see either of those players in this Friday game against Indianapolis, so I can understand that. And also Tyrell Williams, kind of the same thing going on there. I didn't hear any kind of injury updates. It's just that he didn't participate in practice, but he was off to the side catching passes, things like that. And Campbell went into detail on some of the injuries that we are dealing with, and I just love it, man. His transparency with these injuries. One guy that has been making headlines today is DeAndre Swift, because this was brought up by Dan Campbell. I love the transparency here, and here's what he said about DeAndre Swift. He said, Swift, it does concern me a little bit, and it seems like because of the injury that he's dealing with, the groin injury. And the reason that this concerns Dan Campbell is he doesn't know how much they would be able to utilize a guy like DeAndre Swift, even if he was playing in week 1, because they haven't seen consistent practices from him, like consistent practices for a week. Now, recently he has returned to practice, and today Dan Campbell said they were going to give him a bigger workload, and they were going to use him more on the practice field today, so that is good news. And from the notes that I read on practice, DeAndre Swift looked fast, he looked good, he broke off a big run, he looked healthy, he looked good. So that's great news. Probably some of it has to do with the injury that he is dealing with, and the Lions' approach kind of all offseason has been to get guys to 100%. Not just push them out there because they can, it's get them to 100%, or at least as close as they can. They're taking the same approach with Michael Brockers, with Levi, they took the same approach. But apparently we have a doctor that's gonna explain this. I'm sorry, I don't know why this always has to be a thing. It's like once a month this dude shows up and all of a sudden I gotta throw it over there. So we're gonna throw it over to Bob as he has an update on this injury from DeAndre Swift.
You're on, man.
Huh? Oh, we're on. Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, man, what are you wearing? It's kind of hot in here. Plus, that thing looks a little tight. No, it's a little small. This is my doctor shirt, though, so I got to wear it. But something's wrong with it. I can't button it for some reason.
It looks like it's inside out, man.
Inside.
Hey, does anybody know why he's holding that bottle?
On DeAndre
He told
Swift's
me
injury.
it's what doctors do. Hey, bud, you can put that bottle down. Okay. You don't need that. We
have an update on DeAndre Swift's injury. From the looks of it, a groin injury for recovery can be between 1 to 6 weeks, depending on the grade of the injury. Right? It also can linger. So this is an injury that you want to make sure you get back to 100% before the season starts, just like Jeff Okudah dealt with last season. Yeah, I know that was pretty good, right? I got it from Wikipedia, straight off. I just, bam, Google looked up, popped up. I'm like, great, I'm going to use that. All right, let's get back to the Lions news here. I'm sorry you had to see that. Now, Dan Campbell gave us some transparency here on Deshaun Hand's injury as well, saying that Deshaun Hand's injury may be a little bit more than they initially thought it was. He is also dealing with groin injury, but he's been out of practice for 2 weeks now. Now, I didn't realize that Deshaun Hand was out. What are you guys doing? No, do not switch over to him. Don't do that. No,
we're just going to throw him real quick just for a report. He's got an update.
No, don't do it. Please don't. Please.
Man, is he just eating bologna? Hey, it's actually kind of good. I mean, I can't lie.
How's that happen?
Yeah, he is trash at this game, too. Hey, man, you're back on.
Oh, we're back on? Well, hold up 1 second. Let me finish.
Man, he is so
Dude,
bad,
it's like
too.
I'm not even doing
I don't even
anything.
think his
Nothing's
controller's
even
on. It's not
working.
lit up. That's not even the right controller.
Come on, guys. What are we doing here? Are we really going to keep cutting to this dude? Can we just go with the video? We don't need him in it. Please. I mean, we could. Oh, wow, that's great.
Put it up.
Yeah, that's nice. Real professional, guys. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, yeah. Someone get him out of here.
He's right, man. Go get him out of here.
Thank you.
All right, I got it.
I didn't know it's been.
Oh, yeah, that's a good blitz right there.
No, I didn't know it's been two.
Oh, man, that is awesome.
I mean, come on. I thought you were going to get him out of here.
All comes down to this, man.
Come on. You got him.
Come on. Come on.
Yes! Let's go! Let's go! And give me some of that baloney. I didn't realize that. 2 weeks. August 10th was when he dealt with the injury. That's a long time, man. Time really does fly. But he did say this about Deshaun Hand. Hope is that they will be able to get him back for the season. And Dan Campbell did say that he would be out there today. But it was noted that he did not participate. So maybe he was out there on the field and just didn't really do much. But like Dan Campbell said, this is probably something that's going to go on for a little while. They're hoping to get him back by week 1. But probably for the next little while, we won't see his name in practice. So that's very unfortunate. But it was nice that he gave us a clear answer on what's going on with Deshaun Hand. Also, speaking of Michael Brockers working back into practice, and even Dan Campbell said he's coming back basically at a snail's pace, but he is coming back. So apparently it's not just veteran rest with Michael Brockers as it was initially reported. He is dealing with something. It's undisclosed. We don't know what that is, but the plan is to also have him ready by week 1. But again, they want to make sure he's at 100%. That he said, hey, look, Michael Brockers could go out there and play today, but we want to make sure that he's at 100%. Again, it's the approach the Lions have taken really all offseason with multiple players is to get them back 100% healthy, not just put them out there too early. So that's kind of the approach they're taking. They said there's progression, but it's at a snail's pace at this point. And finally, TJ Hockenson. Now, we got some good news on TJ Hockenson. I think we can get him back pretty darn quickly because he was there at the beginning of camp. So he has a really good base under him. He was there for the first couple of weeks. So they got to see him early, consistently in practice, and they feel like they can get him ready to go pretty quickly. So he expects him to be fine for week 1, ready for the season to start. Don't expect him to play in this week, but next week even more. His practices could definitely ramp up as they start to get prepared for that first week against the San Francisco 49ers. But there's really good news here on TJ Hockenson. It sounds like they believe he'll be good to go for week 1, and they feel like they can get him back pretty darn quickly. Now, Campbell did talk about the roster as a whole today in some of his pressers, and he said about 80% of the roster, they have a pretty good idea of, certain positions, guys that they want to keep, but there are some spots open, specifically at that receiver position. He said the wide receiver position, it definitely seems like there are a few locks. Guys like Tyrell Williams, who did not participate today. Amon-Ra St. Brown, the rookie, of course, he is going nowhere. And even Khalif Raymond is probably a lock for the Detroit Lions roster at this point. They haven't really needed to see him play in the preseason. And he's also probably locked to be our top return man. Unless a guy like Craig Reynolds could have something to say about that in terms of the kick return game, where Dan Campbell said he wants to see him more this week. I'm just saying, this dude has a shot, to win that role. But with the receiver position, like Dan Campbell said, there are still spots open here. It's really just an opportunity for guys to win those roles. And today, unfortunately, I guess some of those receivers like Victor Bolden and Javon McKinley, they didn't necessarily take advantage of the opportunity. Now, this is just from the notes. Obviously, the coach could have seen something different. I wasn't there at practice today. Apparently, Javon McKinley fumbled today after making a grab. Victor Bolden had a drop, which was, I guess, a missed opportunity on a deep pass. Perriman did have a big completion today on a post route over the middle. It could have been a broken down coverage, but there are spots to win. Now, it depends on also how many receivers the Lions go to keep this season. 5, 6, 7. I'm thinking they go with 6 this year. The way I've done my 53-man roster works out where you have 4 running backs. I think we keep six receivers. We'll probably do this at the end of the week or maybe even after this Friday game and do some projections there, but probably before this game because I want to do projections before they see the game and then we start doing cut downs. But when you look at the receiver position, the 6 guys I'm looking at: Tyrell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I also think Quintez Cephas makes the team as well. A guy like Tom Kennedy, who Dan Campbell has praised very heavily. I think Tom Kennedy actually slides his way onto the roster. Khalif Raymond, who I said I think is a lock, and I think Perriman also gets in there. I think it would be a mistake to release a guy like Perriman because we haven't seen him enough. But at the same time, the Lions have also shown that they're not afraid to do it for a guy that we haven't consistently been able to see on the field. So I think this is a huge week through practice and in the game, like Craig Reynolds said, for guys like Rashad Perriman. Maybe McKinley goes to the practice squad, but he would probably be the other guy. Maybe they go 7 and they could do this. But McKinley's just right on the heels, in my opinion. We'll see how the week plays out. I mean, if McKinley balls out, he's had 2 big plays during preseason. We've got to see him in 2 games. If he continues to play well and he plays well this week, there's no denying that the Lions could give him the job because they're very open to playing these young players. I think Perriman's got a lot of talent. There's a lot that he can bring to the table this season, so I hope he puts on a very strong week. That way we get to see him this year. But like I said, they're leaving it open to everybody, and I absolutely love that approach. So we'll see who goes out and is the best man this week. But that wide receiver battle is legit, and it's going to be fun. It's really going to be fun on Friday to see what happens. Just hopefully everybody is healthy. That way it's not like, oh, he's limited or he can't play in this game. Hopefully everybody's healthy as they battle this week. We know Perriman's coming back, and Kennedy and Javon McKinley, those guys are both healthy right now. Apparently DeAndre Swift looked really good today. He looked fast, he looked quick, and he looks like he's in a good spot. He broke a big run behind Big V and Penei Sewell along the right side of the offensive line. And I got to give Big V some credit. Going back and watching a lot of the film today, it definitely looked like Big V was improved in terms of pass protection. I mean, aside from that first drive against the Bills when he basically gave up a sack, he did look better in that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we haven't seen tons of reps for him like we did last year. It's going to be a big year, though, for him in terms of pass protection and protecting Jared Goff. We know he can run block, especially once he gets his hands on the defender. He can just bully them back. But pass protection did seem a little bit better from him, even though the offensive line play was up and down for a majority of the game with a lot of players. Same thing with Penei Sewell. We saw some good reps. You saw some of the athleticism, the potential there. But like Dan Campbell said, that was an opportunity for him to get some really good reps against a good pass rusher. I expect to see him again on Friday and make sure that he's ready for week 1. And plus, the news of Terrell Crosby returning is just huge because Matt Nelson struggled big time in that game. I went back and watched and I was like, dang, how many times are you going to get beat by a speed rush around the edge? Now, actually, run blocking, which started off kind of slow, picked up. And I was like, all right, that's not bad. But pass protection, yikes, that did not look the best. So it's going to be nice to have a guy like Terrell Crosby back competing for that role. Maybe we'll see him on Friday. That'd be nice to see Crosby on Friday. I'd be very down with that. So maybe he's able to take over that backup tackle position on Friday. But he's been playing all over the offensive line through practice. They've been working him out at different spots. He kind of seems like that sixth man on the basketball team. You need someone to go in, but he can kind of go in at any spot. Seems like that's what the Lions are trying to get here with Terrell Crosby. Freeman apparently caught a bomb from Jared Goff today. It was about 50 yards deep. And man, look, the thing is that Jared Goff getting back at it with practice. I mean, Jared Goff out there throwing balls this week. He did not see him in last week's game. But Khalif Raymond and Goff has been just so dominant. My goodness, that connection is really good. But then you also talk about the connection with him and TJ, another one of his favorite weapons. When apparently things got a little stagnant offensively, he hit TJ Hockenson, and he had at least 4 to 5 grabs in some of their scrimmage work today. TJ Hockenson is a favorite target of Jared Goff. He likes to throw it to those tight ends. We saw it with Fells. When Fells is the option, he'll go there. He'll go to any tight end he has on the field. But having a guy like Hockenson that can get open, I mean, that's just a great luxury to have. And even Ben Johnson, the tight ends coach, said, hey, look, we'll have to adjust it when it comes, but I'm sure there's going to be double teams that are thrown at him this year. JG, he's my guy. We spend time after practice. We spend time, running routes before preseason games. Expect Hawk to have a big year, but that's not even anything new. We already expected that. Apparently, Randy Bullock went 4 for 4, making 2 kicks from about 50 yards, and Zane Gonzalez went 4 for 6, missing one from 47 yards and 50 yards on the day. So the battle continues to heat up. I'd like to see some opportunities. I mean, you don't want to be stalled and have to kick a field goal, but it would be nice to see more kicks out of Randy Bullock in these preseason games. He's 3 for 3 right now, plus he made his extra point, and he got us an onside back, which was huge. I mean, that can be a little bit overlooked, but it was huge. And we know Zane can kick it off a little bit. Randy Bullock's been getting some work there as well. It kind of would be nice to see a few attempts. So they're kind of having to judge a lot of this on practice because they're not getting those attempts in the game. It would be nice to see some attempts, though, in Fridays and just see how Randy Bullock responds to that. In position apparently dealt with some injuries today. Hopefully nothing serious here. Apparently Alize Mack ran into Corn Elder, came back into practice later, so that's the good news. And apparently Brock Wright also limped off in practice. You don't want to see either of these guys be knocked out by an injury, and that's what gives the edge to the other, because right now it's really those two that are battling for this spot. Like we said, Barry came in and played outside linebacker, and when you watch the game back of Barry, you like it because you can see how versatile he is as a player. So I understand why the Lions did it. Watching it back, they were putting this guy at 5 technique. They were putting him on the line and letting him get after the quarterback. They did the same thing with Austin Bryant as well, and then they can slide him out to play outside linebacker. The versatility is definitely there with Rashad Berry. Very raw, but it's there, all right, because he did play defensive end at Ohio State in his first season, and we know he played outside linebacker with New England. They really like hear from Aaron Glenn. I gotta say, this was probably one of the more entertaining pressers that I've seen because it was just different. It was a change of pace. I mean, Jamal, he's funny, he's happy. I love listening to him, but then Aaron Glenn came in and it was like serious, but at the same time it was entertaining. You know what I mean? It was just had a weird mix to it. The answer he gave to the Jeff Okudah question was just beautiful.
How do you talk to him after that?
Focus as far as what?
The one big play got beat on and bouncing back.
That surprises me. This is the NFL. He's going to give up a play. He's a good player. He's been practicing hard. His eyes were bad, and he gave up a play. But there's been a lot of plays he has made. At some point, we got to talk about those plays he has made instead of one he didn't make. All good?
I was like, oh, snap. Loved it. I love that answer from Aaron Glenn. I think that's just kind of the narrative that he wants to change about Jeff Okudah is that, we focus on the bad a lot with Okudah, and honestly with a lot of our guys. I mean, we kind of come in expecting bad just because of last season's rep, and, Aaron Glenn doesn't like that. He's like, look, we are talking way too much about the one mistake that he had instead of the fact that he made 2 really good plays coming off of that. The great tackle, and then he came back and made a fantastic PBU. We're in the NFL. That's going to happen. It happens to every cornerback. Glenn, being a former cornerback with 41 career interceptions, a 3-time Pro Bowler, bounced back. That's the important part, is that he bounced back. Now, you got to fix that. You want to clean it up. But it's going to happen throughout the regular season. You know it's going to happen. I loved that answer. And then they asked Dan Campbell about it later. They pretty much asked everybody about this. And even Jeff Okudah was asked about it. This is what Dan Campbell said about really the defensive backs as a whole, but it was kind of in the context of Jeff Okudah saying this. I want my guys to cut it loose. They asked him if he prefers maybe playing the aggressive way in terms of defensive backs versus being conservative, because most coaches, their biggest fear is getting beat deep. He said this: I want our guys to cut it loose. I'm okay with getting beat. And what he means by getting beat is flags. He's like, I'm okay with a couple of flags. We're out there and we're playing aggressive. Seeing that, we got cornerbacks that will get up in there, and also defensive back. I'm going to talk about safeties too. Will Harris, they'll get out there and they'll be aggressive in coverage. So, I mean, we've seen it. Jeff Okudah, he thought he was going to see a dagger there, and that's like what we talked about. He was looking for some kind of concept, something that he saw probably in film, and he was kind of expecting that instead of playing his keys, in the words of Dan Campbell, and what was actually happening. But I put in my notes, the kid came back. It's kind of like Michael Jordan. I was like, all right, here we go. He said MJ will take the last shot, and if he misses, he'll take it again. He'll take it again. He'll take it again, because he's the best. I think it's just about the confidence and also short memory. Staying confident as a player. And even Aaron Glenn said, look, our jobs as defensive coaches here is to make sure that these guys go out with confidence, to raise them up. If they get beat, that's not a good thing, but to keep that confidence in them, keep building them up as players. Plus, they're former players, so they realize the importance of building up confidence. All right, yes, one thing to say, okay, you made a mistake, let's do better. But instead of just, oh, you messed up, and sit you or something like that, it's like, no, we're going to keep building that confidence up, because he knows firsthand as a player how important it is that a player goes out there with tons of confidence, even after making a mistake. Levi was one of those guys that flashed in this game, as well as Bruce Hector and Miles Brown. And when you watch Levi back, Levi was pretty awesome. I mean, I was watching him today, and I was like, yo, Levi really went out there and balled. Like, he's not getting attention for some reason. He really balled out. I mean, it wasn't like every rep was fantastic, but a guy that, was out for a little while, his first game back, and that's what he did. Yeah, I mean, Levi did flash. He flashed a lot of potential. It was pretty impressive to watch Levi go to work. I mean, his get-off, explosiveness, ability to stay low at his size. Some reps weren't always the best, but he was a disruptor. He came as a pass rusher, but then it also came as a run stopper as well. He blew up some plays. He found his way into the backfield, showed some agility, some spin moves. Levi definitely flashed in that game, and you kind of just saw so much potential within him. Same thing with Bruce Hector. I kept watching, and for some reason I had a brain fart. I was like, who in the world is 76? I'm like, who is this guy that just keeps flashing? Like, when I'm not looking at Levi, Bruce Hector does something. He's in the backfield consistently. He's making plays. I'm like, dang, that's Bruce Hector again. Hector's another one of those guys. I would say these 3 players are honestly sleepers from that last game. Miles Brown. Brown did way more than just at the end of the game, like I initially thought. Miles Brown did much more than that. He was able to play that nose tackle role, the zero tech, and they showed even some versatility within Miles Brown's game, and apparently they had done that with Aleem McNeil in practice as well. But just a little bit of ability to move around the defensive line. Aaron Glenn said you can't keep everybody, but Miles Brown is one of those players that's trying to make a case, and he has been kind of making a case of, you can't just cut me. Like, we're going to have to go down to the final day with this thing, and you're going to have to make a decision, because without Pennicini, I've taken advantage of the opportunity. Him and Bruce Hector have both done that, because, there is no Deshaun Hand, so Hector stepped up. And it's like, oh, snap, wait a minute, what do we have in Hector? And we don't see Hands. Both put themselves in that spot where it's not like, okay, once they're back, we're going to cut these guys. Like, there's legitimate competition here. About Derek Barnes, and he even kind of pointed out that, Derek Barnes, AJ Parker, they're getting all the attention. And it's true. There are guys that should be getting attention. Like the guys that we just mentioned, they should be getting a lot of attention from that last game. And as I continue to roll through it, you're seeing guys like that just kind of stick out. And even Tavante Beckett, until Aaron Glenn said this, I didn't go back and watch him. And I was like, yeah, he was only out there like at the last drive, but he was flying around. So this is what he said about Derek Barnes. He said, look, Derek Barnes, we're trying to bring him along slowly, but at the same time, if you're playing well, we're going to find a way to put you on the field.
It doesn't change the vision at all, especially with the guys that we have right now. The thing that we want to make sure we do is bring him along slowly. All right, he still has a lot of things that he has to get better at, and we're going to actually just continue to help him with that. He's been making a lot of plays now. All right, that's what we expect from him. That's where we drafted him. You saw that in college. So we'll continue to work with him. But he's putting himself in good position too now. I mean, a lot of those young guys are doing that, and we're excited about that. So we're going to continue to coach him hard, and we're going to let it shake out how it shakes out.
He also said one thing he learned from scouts is that don't be afraid to go with the young guy. Don't be afraid because he's young and there's this vet. We kind of know what we're going to get. If the guy is playing well, you put him out in the field. He said one thing that would actually hurt a player's morale isn't necessarily not putting him out there so he doesn't make mistakes. It's not putting him out there when he's playing well. And because of the players that they have specifically, which is Jamie Collins and Alex Anzalone. Now, I don't know if he's necessarily talking about the backups as well, like Jalen and Tavai. I'm not sure if he's going that far, but he may be just talking about the two starters. Need him to do that because they have two really solid players, a guy that he's familiar with and Alex as well. But he also states that, hey, if you're going to go out there and ball and make plays, I got to find a way to get you on the field. No matter how we do it, we have to find a way to put you on the field. And right now he's making plays. So if he's not worried about the young guy and Derek Barnes continues to make plays, they're going to find a way to put him on the field. We want him, to stay on this certain plan. And he's still got a lot of things that he's got to do. But at the same time, if he's playing well, we're going to find a way to put him out there.
If you're a good player, I'll find a way to put you on the field. As simple as that. And he's a good player, so we're going to find a way. And he's been making plays in the game. Like I said, but he still has a ways to go. And I know that the big deal is on Barnes right now, which it should be, right? But you just got to just continue to let him make plays, right? And continue to help him get better.
Put up AJ Parker, and he kind of pumped the brakes a little bit. Even though AJ's been great, he said this about Parker. And this kind of goes back to the last statement as well. Don't be afraid to play the young guys. They're not afraid to put AJ out there. Yeah, he may be a rookie, and Nick Roby-Coleman may be the vet, but AJ Parker's playing well, so we're going to let him get the reps. He said this about AJ. He said he's still fighting for that nickel job. Everybody wants to give it to him, but he's still fighting for that job, leaving the competition out there. I love the fact that Aaron Glenn brought up the importance of late-round picks, but also just free agent signings in general, 6th, 7th-round picks, undrafted free agents, because he said, those are a lot of the NFL. And if you look at a team like the Rams last season, two of their top 4 cornerbacks, Darius Williams, Troy Hill, those are both undrafted free agents. Their 2 starting safeties were a 6th-round pick in Jordan Fuller, who was a very young player, and John Johnson, the 3rd-round pick. And a lot of these guys, they were thrown into big roles early, when they were very young players. Like I said, undrafted free agents, 3rd-round picks, 6th-round picks. So I like how he stressed the importance of that. And you look at a team like the Saints, they had a lot of free agents come in and play big roles for their teams. And the Lions are giving a lot of opportunities to a lot of young guys, and that's not something that the Rams or Saints haven't done in the past. They've had young guys play big roles as well. But then you see some of the undrafted free agents, maybe even from past years, that are getting a very legitimate opportunity. Now, unfortunately, we didn't have preseason last year, so that hurt a little bit. But there's a lot of young guys getting opportunities here. And it's not like they're just there and they have to take the role because someone's got to take it. They're actually winning these roles. AJ Parker is winning the nickel role. It's not like they just gave it to him. There's Ford and there's Corn Elder, who has been hurt, but Nick Roby-Coleman, that's competition. For a young guy to go win that role, that says something. Jerry Jacobs, not sure if he'll make the team or not, but he's played solid. He's still here with the team. He's still competing for a role. Lions have tons of talent in that secondary, from cornerback to safety. We've invested a lot there. We've invested a good amount at those 2 spots, but we haven't gotten the most out of this group like other teams have. Other teams have invested less and gotten way more than what we have out of that same positional group. The Lions have invested, 2 3rd-round picks in their safeties. The top pick, the highest drafted cornerback, in football history. They drafted that. Amani, a 5th-round pick. Then you go to the Iffy this year in the 3rd round. Your slot cornerback spot is won out by a UDFA, but you've invested in these 2 spots. We just have to get the best out of it. He ended off with Tavante Beckett, and he said, Beckett, who apparently was getting a lot more reps on the field today, higher reps in practice, he's how can you not notice Tavante Beckett? In that last game, he only had a handful of snaps. The Lions were really pushing him down the depth chart, so they just gave him a few reps at the end of the game, and I'm assuming we're going to see him a lot because Dan Campbell did say the good thing is because of the way the cuts are working, they're going to have 80 players on the roster, which tells you they're not going to make any more cuts, most likely, before the game on Friday, which I do like. Keep these guys here. If you can have the spots, keep them here. You don't need a player starters on Friday. Let's see who wins some roles. This is an opportunity for a lot of these guys. Fridays might be the most exciting day, seriously, because it's all about jobs on Friday. But throughout the week as well, we don't get to see the practice. It's going to be super exciting to watch Friday. This might be the most entertaining day, honestly, of camp or preseason because everybody's going to be battling for spots. But he said Tavante Beckett is one of those guys you can't ignore. And the limited amount of reps that he had, he has a way of finding the football. He's explosive. He's fast. He's downhill. He's attacking. And keep in mind, Tavante Beckett was the defensive player of the year at Marshall. Okay, this guy was a stud at Marshall, racked up a ridiculous amount of tackles, had a nose for the football. He's definitely smaller. But when you talk about the type of linebacker the Lions want, speed, quick, explosiveness, fast, downhill, he checks all of those boxes. And when you go back and watch the limited amount of reps, even when he wasn't making plays, he consistently was in the backfield. There was no hesitation. He was just flying. That's what the Lions are kind of valuing, I think, at that linebacker group. And Tavante Beckett showed that off. He doesn't really have the size. I don't think he makes the team. But practice squad is very possible. And also the fact that you watch him, I mean, we're going to see him a lot on Friday. But the fact that he's getting high reps is really good for him in practice. I'm happy for him because, you know, that's another one of those guys that are going to get very overlooked because he only played a couple of snaps. But in those handful of snaps, he went out and stood out, and he didn't hold back at all. Notes that I have from today, I will come back with some more film videos. I'm really just watching it, trying to learn as much as I can right now before I share a video. I don't want to just share a video of like, oh, here's a film, let's watch it. But I want to share it when I know, when I feel like I actually know what's going on. So I'm trying to research it, learn as much as I can, get a really good feel in the game and sense before I start bringing those videos to you. So expect one tomorrow for sure. Until then, thank you for watching, and I'm out.
Go Lions!